Before we talk about the Holy Grail, I wonder if you could just share with us a little bit about getting the kind of the Python job in the first place, how that came about, and how you first met the guys.
Ooh, well, can you hear me all right? Yes? Okay, all right. Well, I was at the time doing quite a lot of work at the BBC, working with just about every comedian there was. Roy Hudd, Ronnie Barker, Ronnie Corbett, Spike Milligan, all of them, Charlie Drake. And I was, well, I guess, and apparently this is my own invention, this, I didn't know that, but apparently it's mine. I always felt that I was a bit of just a glamour stooge. Because I didn't have a great deal to do, but I was there looking pretty and just helping them get the laughs. But I was working with all these comedians at the BBC. So I got a call one day to go upstairs to the person who was producing a new series, and he called me up and said, we are putting together a new series. There's going to be 13 episodes, but we've got 6, and we would like you to be in 4 of them. And it's called Monty Python's Flying Circus, which didn't mean anything to me at all, of course.
Anybody, did it?
Anybody. And they said, we want you to be in 4 episodes. So I said, well, thank you very much. And that's how it started, but basically because all my work with all these various comedians at the BBC.
And how was it when you first met? I mean, because obviously your relationship with the Pythons has lasted such a long time, right up into the O2 shows quite recently. And I wonder if you just remember the first time you actually kind of met them, either kind of collectively or individually.
Well, the first time was the first day of rehearsals for the first episode. Now, I have to say, preempt that with I was sent a script, because I was only going to be in 4 of the 6 episodes that they were originally doing. And so I was sent the scripts of the first, certainly the first episode I was going to be in. And I was reading the script, and the joke, there was no end to it. It just sort of tailed off. It didn't, and I read it again and read it again. I don't get it. I don't get it. What is it? And I read this whole script, and I thought, well, doesn't seem very funny to me. These are bizarre sketches. They have no... Of course, I didn't know, did I? Until the first day of rehearsals, when I discovered that lovely Terry G was all going to be filled in with this wonderful animation. But when you read the script, which had no beginning, no end, no punchline, what the hell is this all about? And I can remember saying to my partner at the time, I thought, well, I don't know about this. I can't see this is going to work very well. It has no beginning. It doesn't make any sense. And I was none the wiser, actually, of the first day of rehearsals, where they were just playing around a great deal. The first day of rehearsals were just manic. They were just having a lot of fun. And I still didn't know about the animations, you see. I still didn't know. I hadn't been told.
And bearing in mind they'd come from different sort of back in terms of there was last 1948 show and Not Adjust Your Set, which brought out some different groups of them. But this was the first time they'd all actually kind of worked together as one kind of group. Did they feel kind of quite cohesive, or?
Well, yes, they all seemed quite relaxed together. It was just me who felt a little bit not sure. I do remember saying to my then partner when I saw this first script, I said, I'm not sure this is going to last more than 1 episode. Makes no sense whatsoever.
Here we are 50 years later.
So 50 years later. My goodness, I was wrong. But no, the first day of rehearsals, they were all very sweet. They were very inviting and made me feel very much at ease. But they were mucking about something awful on the first day of rehearsal, just having a jolly good laugh. And I do remember it still didn't make any sense to me when I got home. And I said to my partner at the time, well, I don't think this is going to last more than 1 episode. It doesn't make any sense to me at all.
And so the kind of, there are a lot of female characters in Python, but a lot of them are actually played by the guys themselves.
Yes, they are, and they did that much better than I could. I mean, let's face it. I think the Pythons in drag was one of the best things that they did. The Americans loved that. When it was shown in America, I remember, I'm half American, by the way, in case you know. I'm half and half. or half and half, depending on which side of the big pond I'm on. So when I was in America, we were saying, oh, yeah, we love Monty Python. Oh, Monty Python, he is so funny. He is so funny, Monty Python. And they were talking about John. They thought John was Monty Python. But they did. I think the Americans particularly really loved it when the men were in drag, because there wasn't much of that in America. They didn't do men in drag.
On screen, anyway.
Not on screen, no. So they loved that.
And we had Neil Innes on stage here on Friday night, and we were talking to him about the fact that there is this kind of label that kind of goes between a number of people, which is kind of the seventh Python. And he was saying on stage, that is definitely Carol.
Did he?
Yeah, he did. He said the seventh Python is absolutely 100% Carol Cleveland.
That's so sweet.
And do you feel like that? And the fact that you are part of the Python, but you are sort of the seventh Python. Is that how you feel?
Yes, I definitely feel like that. He was right. I am the seventh Python. No, it's lovely because I know this with Neil. That is so sweet. That is lovely to hear that. Because we have had this thing where he's been called the seventh Python, I've been called the seventh Python. And we were doing some years back when they were bringing out various stuff on DVD and whatever. And it was just Neil and I doing a little thing together. And somebody came on, and asked the question, which one of you is the seventh Python? And I remember then that Neil was very sweet, and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and we both answered together, we both are. And yes, he was lovely.
So,
but I'm the seventh Python.
We're not going to forget that.
Okay.
So Monty Python Holy Grail, which obviously we've just watched. So the character of Zoot, first of all. And bearing in mind, there were times. In terms of sort of having speaking roles in the Holy Grail. That's quite a good meaty part to get actually into, isn't it? Because a lot of the time there were sketches where you're just kind of wandering on and doing something or other. Whereas actually this was a kind of it was a nice role actually, wasn't it? You must have been pleased when you received the script.
It was very nice. I enjoyed doing it. And of course, the lovely thing about it is that, unlike all the other Pythons, now that you've seen the film, they suffered terribly with awful weather, and oh dear, poor them out in the mud and the cold and the wet. And these chainmail outfits they had to wear, and when they got wet, they would get all itchy. They had a terrible time. They were all itchy and wet and mud and whatever. They were miserable. But I was fine because all my bits were indoors, which was lovely. I didn't get wet. I didn't get itchy. I just had a very nice time.
And were you around on the set for other times as well, or did you just come in to do your own
Yes, well,
bit?
when I arrived, as I say, it was a very, they only had 3.5 weeks or
That was
something
a
to do
very
this
quick
film.
shoot.
So I arrived to do my bit. On the day that I was raining, blah, blah, and I looked around. Everybody looked a bit miserable. As I told you earlier, there were a few problems on this set, and and they were doing this wonderful sketch, the bit I love, where the knights are dancing on the table, and that's what they were doing at the time. I thought, oh, I love that.
How would they do it? So would they have the music playing through a kind of a speaker or something that they would have to act to? Or how would that work?
Yes, they were actually filming that thing, so the music was going, they're actually doing the dance. It was lovely. I thought, oh, this is going to be such fun. It's going to be such fun. But I did wonder why everybody looked a little bit gloomy, and it was because the film, I think the problem was having two directors.
And both went. So Terry Jones and Terry Gilliam both went on to direct their own films afterwards, didn't they? But at this point,
and they did. But this was the first time either of them had ever directed a full-length feature film, and they had very different views of how the film should be. Terry G was very much concerned with the look of it, how it looked, and Terry Jones was more concerned with the feel of it. So there were loggerheads quite a bit, and I sensed that the day I arrived. I thought, well, something's not right here, and in fact, I heard that the film crew were on the verge of downing tools because they were getting a bit frustrated because one Terry would come along in the morning and fix up a scene, do the lighting and get everything right. And then the other Terry would come along later and say, no, that's all right, change it. So the film crew were like, "Arr!" And what brought it all together in the end, because no one had seen the seen the film yet. No one had seen the outtakes. Not outtakes. What am I saying?
The rushes.
The
and the
rushes.
final, yeah.
Thank you very much for the word.
One
No
or
one
two.
had seen the rushes. So the film crew, were just thinking, what the hell's going on here? We're working with amateurs. What are they doing? And the day I arrived was the same day that we were called in that evening at the hotel to see the rushes for the first time. So the film crew were a bit grumpy, but we all arrived, and Graham, very good start, he just said to everybody, right, drinks on me. So that helped. All the film crew had drinks. And we all went in and watched the rushes for the first time, and they looked so wonderful, so wonderful. And so when we came out of the rushes, the film crew felt much happier and actually agreed to continue working at half rate.
And do you remember how the other Pythons felt to being directed by the two Terrys? Because they're all kind of quite sort of strong individuals in their own right. Did they just kind of accept the fact that that's what?
Oh yes, I think. Well, they'd all agreed on what parts they were going to play and who was better at doing what. I mean, everybody thought that Graham would be better, at what he was doing, and no, I think they're all
And
quite
Graham
happy.
is incredible actually in the role. I mean, it's a really strong acting performance
Yes,
as well.
as
Isn't
King
it?
Arthur, he's wonderful, but he was chosen to be King Arthur because he would be the best, and he did it very well. I mean, there were little problems there. Apparently, on the one of the first things they did was the crossing the bridge, and there was apparently a few problems because it was very windy that day. And none of the Pythons particularly wanted to cross that bridge, which, who can blame them? Particularly John, he definitely didn't want to cross the bridge because I'm told that the day before they'd been filming another scene with John when he was playing the, what was his, who was it? He was all clothed in black now, I can't remember. He was playing this role where he had to stand right on top of something the Enchanter.
Oh yes, yeah.
Tim the Enchanter.
Tim the Enchanter, yeah.
Tim the Enchanter. And he had to stand on this very high hill with the wind apparently blowing. And he was nearly blown off this hill. He was a bit worried. So when the next day they said, right, cross the bridge, he said, no, I'm not going to do that. And a couple of the others are not too keen. So there was this, apparently one of the crew, the film crew, had go across. He was the one that kept crossing the bridge.
And one of the scenes that has really last test of time is the Black Knight and the whole thing with the limbs being kind of hacked off and all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
I wonder if you could just sort of share a few memories around like that, for example.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't there when they were filming it, but apparently it is John, obviously the first one. But when you see him having his first leg chopped off, they actually. That's not John. Obviously, it's not John. But they got a local guy who had one-legged man, and so they got this one-legged man when they chopped the leg off, right? And then when both legs are chopped off, this poor guy, they dug a hole, so he's in the hole, a deep hole up to there, right? And the filming went on for quite a long time, and eventually this chap complained of getting pins and needles in his leg, and he couldn't feel it anymore, and they all panicked. Well, get him out of there quick. So, get him out there where they might have to chop the other leg off.
But it would have been a great special effect if they'd been done it there, wouldn't it?
It would have been.
Did you keep any kind of like souvenirs from the sets?
I did, and I think I might have been, one of the only ones that did, because a few years back there was talk of having an exhibition, I was asked what I might have, and I kept the nails, the crucifixion nails.
Life of Brian.
Life of Brian. I said, I've got those, and they thought, ooh, wonderful. I also kept, at the same time we were doing Life of Brian, we all went out for dinner one evening, and to this, very simple restaurant with a paper tablecloth, and I asked everybody to sign it. So I've got this wonderful tablecloth, everything, Terry Gilliam's bits and bobs on it, whatever. And in the film, The Meaning of Life, when I play the receptionist in the hotel welcoming everybody to heaven, I think that was my line, hello, welcome to heaven. And there's something which, a lot of, in films, there's all sorts of things that the audience will never see, the film goers will never see, little props that you'll never see. And there was this one which was for the people coming up to the hotel to fill out, and it was it was lovely. It has welcome to heaven on the top. It says date of birth and date of birth and place of birth, and underneath it date of death and place of death, and it's got all this stuff on this which nobody ever saw except me. So I've got that.
And obviously the relationship with the Pythons has continued all the way through, because obviously they sort of, I guess, disbanded after The Meaning of Life effectively, but there have been various points where they've kind of sort of joined up to celebrate anniversaries and so forth, but they've kept involving you in that. And I wonder if you just talk just a little bit about sort of how it's been on those occasions coming back, and then obviously with the O2 as well.
The O2 was wonderful. How many people here were the O2 Arena? Hands up.
Oh, quite a few.
Ooh, yeah, it was good, wasn't it? Yes, it was good. Yes, it was good. Well, for me, it was like, wow. Never imagined. I mean, prior to that, well, the first time the big one, how many years ago, was when we appeared at the Hollywood Bowl, and I was pretty excited about that, especially as I'm a Californian girl, and, I was coming home, which was lovely. And then the next one, when we were at the Royal Albert Hall, and that was pretty good. But then to hear we were going to be at the O2 Arena, like, wow. It was amazing. For me, it was absolutely amazing. I don't know. It was the pinnacle for me. It was so exciting.
And I know that the Python Association has been very successful for you over a lot of years, 50 years in fact. But as a kind of trained actress who has, I know, obviously performed in lots of other roles in a sort of non-Python way, but do you ever kind of worry, or do you ever wonder whether that association with the Pythons actually kind of hindered some other roles that you might have got? That's
a good question. And yes, I think it has. As I'm a trained actress, I went to RADA, and I've always considered myself to be an all-rounder. I've done a lot of stage work, a lot of, straight plays, dramas, thrillers, a lot of touring. And I've always considered myself, yes, to be an all-rounder, not necessarily a comedian. And I think the Python thing has sort of taken over. And I hate to say this, because I've loved, don't get me wrong, I've loved every single moment of my work with Python, every single moment. It's been such a joy. But in a way, it has been a bit of a ball and chain, because it has kept me from being taken seriously as an actress. And I think because of Python, that's how I'm known now as the Python lady. And yes, there's things that I might have been doing otherwise, but please don't get me wrong.
No, I mean,
I've loved every
at the end of the
second
day,
of
it's
it.
an incredible association.
Oh, yes.
And the Pythons are going to live on a lot. I mean, there's going to be the 100th celebration, the 150th celebration, long after we're all no longer here.
The Python sketches were all done in front of a live audience. Yes, we had 5 days rehearsal, and then we went into the studio and we had a live audience. And we were all introduced first. One by one, we'd come out being introduced. And then we had a live audience, and sometimes it went very well. Sometimes we had to redo things. But yeah, always a live audience.
And then would they, in terms of the location sketches, would they play those to the live audience to get their kind of their laughter and so forth?
I'm trying to think about that. No, I don't think so. I think when we were doing just the sketches, they wouldn't include that. No.
I mean, I don't know. Are we going to put you on the spot?
Oh no, I don't have a favorite Python. I can only say when I first met them all, and I didn't know any of them. Well, at least let's put it this way: I didn't think I'd met any of them all, but it turns out that I had, and I didn't remember. It was John who reminded me one day during rehearsals that we had met at the West Side Health Club in Kensington. I used to go there to do workouting, and so did John. And I didn't remember that we'd met there, but he reminded me we had. So as far as I was concerned, I'd never met any of them. And so to begin with, I guess I think I got on in the early days. Probably I felt a bit more relaxed with John. He was a bit flirty, and I was a bit flirty. We were both married, so don't get me wrong. But we were both a bit flirty, so that was nice. I got on very well with Terry Gilliam because we're both Americans, so we had that little thing together.
But during this TV series, Terry was doing those all himself.
Yes, when we were down, when we were in the studio down at BBC Centre, rehearsing downstairs, doing our sketches, Terry G would be upstairs in his own little room doing all his stuff. And what would happen is every now and then he'd come down and call one of us. Like he'd come up to me and say, "Carol, are you needed for a bit?" I said, "No, I think I'm all right." "Okay, come up." So we'd go upstairs, and I'd be asked to do some strange voice for some animation, which, of course, I didn't know what I was doing. So that's how it worked. That's how it worked.
And I think, that, as far as I know, that certainly continued for the first few films, I think, wasn't it? In terms of he was animating the sequences himself on his own.
On his own.
Yeah,
oh,
not
totally.
with
Yes,
he
was upstairs all by himself doing his thing.
Great. A big thank you for celebrating Python 50 to Carol Cleveland.